Hello guys, and welcome back to our channel. Now in today's video, I welcome you to a latest shocking move by the Trump administration. In a devastating blow to police accountability, the Justice Department has deleted the National Law Enforcement Accountability Database, a crucial tool for tracking police misconduct. Now, this database was a game changer, exposing officers with histories of abuse and ensuring they couldn't simply jump ship to another department. Now, with its deletion, these same officers can apply for jobs elsewhere, putting communities at risk. Now, this move is especially alarming given the context that the database was created in response to the unaliving of George Floyd and was meant to promote transparency and accountability within law enforcement. And we have seen a lot of cases, like it was in place, but we've seen a lot of cases. What about now that it's no longer there? I really don't know what is going to happen. So stay tuned as my fellow Black brothers and sisters react to this as they share their own thoughts as well. With that said, let's take a look at the videos. I'll be right back.
Trump just ordered the Justice Department to delete the police misconduct database, and they just did it. Trump just ordered the Justice Department to delete the police misconduct database, and they just did it. Do you understand how the police misconduct database, right, is a federal database where the worst police officers who have committed the worst crimes, who have been, in America, police officers will commit a crime in one police department or one state and then go to another state and get hired. That's a thing. We know that. Okay. Federal police department database, misconduct database has always existed, right? That's for the worst versions of those guys, so that no police department ever will hire them again. Like the worst of the worst, the literally any police officer who forces himself upon a woman gets convicted, makes it to that list. Now that list is deleted, those same men, now that it's deleted today, those men can go and apply to jobs at any other police department, and they will get them. Ladies, maybe this needs to sink into white women. Those policemen that come when you're drunk and handcuff you when you're really drunk. In New York City, I remember the police officer that forced himself, that took that woman back home and forced himself into her. When he gets released now, because of what Trump did, he can get rehired in New Jersey. This is a special message. Aisha, if you're watching this, I'm serious. Whatever we had planned, we gotta accelerate that. We gotta leave this country.
I know I just posted the morning roundup, but guys, by decree of executive order, the Justice Department just deleted the entire database of police misconduct. Like, I'm actually physically shook. I gotta go inside the building, but I'm just like, this is terrible for the country. Okay, I'll see y'all later.
Trump just ordered the database that holds all of the misconduct for all federal police officers to be completely deleted, and they did it. And this is something that Black Americans fought for after the George Floyd, and it's absolutely insane. The Federal Police Misconduct Database, known as the National Law Enforcement Accountability Database, or NLEAD, was introduced under the Biden administration as part of like an executive order that was basically going to increase accountability and make transparency in the law enforcement. They wanted to make sure that federal agencies following national protests over police violence were tracked. Main part about this database is intended to track officers' misconduct, including things like excessive force, termination, or decertifications, with the goal of improving oversight and preventing problematic officers from being rehired within other departments. Leading this database literally took away all accountability that we were able to build from 2022 until now. Please tell me why you think this man gives a damn about us.
Trump just ordered the justice system to delete the police misconduct database. For those of you who do not know what that is, it's kind of self-explanatory. But long story short, any police officer that has ever committed any heinous crimes, has ever raped anybody, or whatever it is, they are on that list, and they just deleted it. So what that means is all of those police officers that was on that list can now go back into the police force. Meanwhile, you got people on here worried about dividends, trying to dictate who deserve it and who don't deserve it, who should be able to get it, who's eligible for it, and this, and that. Meanwhile, Trump just opened the gateway for all of those heinous police officers to get back into the police force, to get back out here to patrol everybody. Y'all better get ready. Get ready, because it's about to get real bad out here. People about to start crashing out.
Barack Iowa family. This is the he has made now. Agent was basically deleted the national database of misconduct in police officers. And I ain't gonna say too much because you already knows what that means. You already know what that means. But this same message should continue to pray to plead the blood of Yahusha every single time you go to and fro. Never be in too much of a rush to do that. I'm guilty of that. But we know that we are seeing the alt-right, the spirit of America, the spirit of the alt-right rise out of these people. You're starting to see it. A lot of conservatives that were traditionally for Trump are now starting to distance from him because of all the salute controversy and all that other stuff they got going on. And now this police officer situation, Israel and Judah, and those who are allied with them, because these white nationalists, these people, these far-right people have been looking for a moment of revolution. They think they're about to get that through Donald Trump, also known as Agent Orange. So they're looking for that. So those of you who are Israel and Judah, and those of you who are grafted in or allies of Israel and Judah, right? Or allies, right, of the Most High, you guys need to be watching out too, because they're looking for their moment. Now, I'm not telling you to scare you, but to be able to prepare your mind, heart, and soul for the things that come. Be encouraged. You need to be praying. This semester should be praying Psalm 91 over your life, over your family, because these things are real. They are happening. This is not one of those pages where I'm going to sugarcoat stuff for you. I'm telling you the raw reality of what's happening around you and what you can do about it. And what you can do is pray, fast, and continue to praise him even through the struggle, and have an attitude of gratitude. What most has been telling me is what seems to be inconvenient is actually a blessing in disguise. A lot of the stuff that you're going through, it may seem inconvenient, but it's actually to sharpen you. It's actually to give you time with friends and family that you may not have, because when the separation of the wilderness comes, a lot of friends and family, in fact, majority are most likely not coming. So enjoy the moments you have now. Enjoy the little moments now. Pray now. Fast now. Be on guard now. Pray now. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next video.
Hey, you guys, here's your evening news updates. Justice Department deletes federal police misconduct database following Trump order. The U.S. Department of Justice has confirmed the shutdown of the National Law Enforcement Accountability Database, a first-of-its-kind system tracking misconduct by federal police officers following an executive order issued by President Donald Trump. The move dismantles one of the key police reform measures introduced under former President Joe Biden and eliminates a resource that experts say was crucial for improving law enforcement accountability. A database meant to track misconduct. The misconduct database, which became operational in December of 2023, was designed to prevent officers with records of serious misconduct ranging from excessive force to criminal behavior from moving between agencies without oversight. The system collected and maintained disciplinary records from nearly 150,000 federal law enforcement officers across 90 executive branch agencies, including the FBI, IRS, Customs and Border Protection, and even smaller agencies like the Railroad Retirement Board. A December 2023 Justice Department report highlighted the database's progress, noting that it already accumulated thousands of disciplinary records dating back to 2017. The goal was to ensure that agencies could screen applications thoroughly before hiring and prevent wandering officers with history of misconduct from simply transferring to another federal department with a clean slate. Trump administration's justification for elimination. President Trump rescinded the executive order that created the database on his first day in office as part of a broader effort to roll back Biden-era policies and reduce the federal government's size and costs. The administration argued that the database was an unnecessary burden on law enforcement agencies and promoted what it described as anti-police rhetoric. In a statement, the White House defended the decision. President Trump believes in an appropriate balance of accountability without compromising law enforcement's ability to do its job of fighting crime and keeping communities safe. The Biden executive order created this database was full of woke anti-police concepts that make communities less safe, like a call for equitable policing and addressing systemic in our criminal justice system. President Trump rescinded the order creating this database on day one because he is committed to giving our brave men and women of law enforcement the tools they need to stop crime. Impact on police accountability. The revocation of the database has sparked criticism from law enforcement accountability advocates who argue that its elimination will make it easier for officers with records of misconduct to continue working in law enforcement without consequences. Everyone, cops and communities alike, has an interest in keeping officers with history of serious misconduct from rejoining their profession, said Thomas Apt, detective of the Violence Reduction Center at the University of Maryland. Nonpartisan public safety reforms like these should be placed above politics and maintained across administrations. Policing experts point out that without a centralized federal database, agencies will soon again rely on their own internal vetting processes, which have historically allowed officers with disciplinary issues to slip through the cracks. Broader context. A reversal of former President Biden's police reform efforts, the database was one component of a broader police reform initiative introduced by former President Biden through an executive order back in 2022. The order came in response to the national outcry following the George Floyd in 2020 and aimed at to address concerns about police accountability at the federal level. Along with establishing the database, former President Biden order included improved use of force standards and research, nationwide guidance on body camera policies, mandatory anti-bias training for federal law enforcement officers, stronger accountability measures for officers with records of misconduct. Trump's revocation of former President Biden's executive orders eliminates not just the database, but several of these other reforms as well, marking a significant shift in federal policing policy. Critics and supporters alike, the decision to dismantle the database has drawn mixed reactions. Civil rights groups, policing reform advocates, and some law enforcement officials warn that it will erode accountability and make communities less safe. They argue that transparency in policing is critical for public trust and that removing such oversight could allow bad officers to continue serving without repercussions. On the other hand, some law enforcement organizations have welcomed the decision, arguing that the database unfairly targeted.
I've been thinking about all of this, and this means police that unalive George Floyd, police that have puppeted people, police that have gripped women, police that have hate children, those that have brutalized innocent people, those that have used excessive force. The police misconduct doesn't just hit people that look like me, but it hurts women of different cultures. Some by physical, verbal means, humiliation. Some are part of external groups that carry out their line of work. Now, the Justice Department deleting all that data means that they are preparing to have the minions. They are going to be the guardians of the faith. The guardians, you all know where that came from, right? And I'm here thinking, is the military going to comply? Like, is our society just going to fall in line and just do whatever? Because there has to be somebody who's going to do it, right? And it's the police who are actually, who have already been doing it. Another agency that will go unchecked. This national database tracked misconduct by federal police, a resource that policing reform advocates held as essential to prevent officers with misconduct records from being able to move undetected between agencies. It's unavailable. Now, the U.S. Justice Department also confirmed the database's elimination in a statement issued online. User agencies can no longer query or add data to the NLEAD, the statement read. The U.S. Department of Justice is decommissioning the NLEAD in accordance with federal standards. Now, a web link that hosted the database is no longer active. The police misconduct database, the first of its kind, was not publicly available. Law enforcement agencies could use the NLEAD to check if an officer applying for a law enforcement position had committed misconduct, such as excessive force. Several experts celebrated the NLEAD when Joe Biden first created it by an executive order issued in 2023, the third year of his presidency. Now, law enforcement agencies will no longer be able to turn a blind eye to the records of misconduct in officer hiring, and offending officers will not be able to distance themselves from their misdeeds. The Legal Defense Fund president and director counsel said of the database at the time, but Trump has since rescinded Biden's executive order as part of an ongoing effort to slash federal agencies down. Now, Trump himself initially proposed the database after the police unaliving of George Floyd in 2020, months before Biden defeated him in the presidential election that November. Now, in an emailed statement to the Washington Post, the White House confirmed the database's deletion. Now, President Trump believes in an appropriate balance of accountability without compromising law enforcement's ability to do its job of fighting crime and keeping communities safe. But the Biden executive order creating this database was full of woke, anti-police concepts that make communities less safe, like a call for equitable policing and addressing systemic racism in our criminal justice system. Now, President Trump rescinded the order, creating this database on day one because he's committed to giving brave men and women of law enforcement the tools they need to stop crime. News of the NLEAD's erasure comes as police misconduct is far from rooted out in American law enforcement. For instance, in Alabama, an entire department was recently put on leave amid a grand jury investigation that found a rampant culture of corruption. The 18-person grand jury called for the Huntsville Police Department, which only has 8 officers, to be abolished. A probe into that police department came amid the unaliving of 49-year-old Christopher Michael Willingham, a Huntsville dispatcher. Now, Willingham was discovered unalived at work from a toxic combination of Ds. The department also failed to account for, preserve, and maintain evidence, and in doing so, has failed crime victims and the public at large, the grand jury ruled. Now, the police misconduct database was operational for a little over a year, having launched in December 2023. It was conceived in an attempt to reduce the problem of so-called wandering officers, instances where police who were forced out of their jobs because of substantiated misconduct simply found new jobs at different agencies that would otherwise have no way of knowing their history and the potential risk of arming them with a badge and a pew-pew. It's a reckless and harmful decision and a major step backward for transparency and public safety, said a non-resident senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, who led the development of Biden's executive order establishing the database in his role as Deputy Director of the White House Domestic Policy Council, where he served until 2023. Why would you shut this down? This helps no one except bad actors who had no business wearing the badge. All 90 executive agencies with law enforcement officers were required to report misconduct incidents related to their nearly 150,000 federal police nationwide. Now, during its brief time in operation, an additional 4 departments also voluntarily submitted officer records. The president only has the authority to require federal agencies to participate. However, the NLEAD was designed with the potential to incorporate state, local, and tribal police departments as well, offering them a series of grants as incentives to opt in. In 2020, a team of researchers from Duke University and Chicago Law School studied data on all 98,000 law enforcement officers at nearly 500 police agencies in the state of Florida, and found that officers with a history of substantiated misconduct were more likely than both officers hired as rookies and those hired as veterans who have never been fired to be fired from their next job or to receive a complaint for a moral character violation. Now, in its first annual report published last December, the Bureau of Justice Statistics, through the NLEAD database, identified 4,790 misconduct incidents between 2018 and 2023. Among those, nearly 1,500 federal officers were either suspended, fired, or resigned while under investigation for serious misconduct, and more than 300 officers were convicted of crimes. You know, this move is a slap in the face to our community, which has been fighting for police accountability and justice for far too long. The database was a crucial tool for tracking police misconduct and ensuring that officers with histories of abuse couldn't simply move to another department and continue their harmful behavior. Now, by deleting it, the Justice Department is just putting our community in danger. We know that police brutality disproportionately affects Black and brown people. We've seen the devastating impact it has on families and communities, and yet the Trump administration is actively working to make it easier for abusive officers to stay on the force. And this move is not just a mistake. It's a deliberate attempt to undermine police accountability and perpetuate systemic racism. It's a clear message that the lives and safety of Black people don't matter at all, and we can stay silent in the face of this injustice. The deletion of this database is a setback. I don't know what you guys think, but share your thoughts as well in the comment section. Thank you for always watching, and see you in our next video as we bring you another video.